2026 special meeting of the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission. It is via remote participation via Zoom only, and this meeting is being audio and video recorded and will be uploaded to the Town of Nantucket's Government TV YouTube page at a later date. At this point, I will take I'm going to take roll call, and if I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Dave Iverson,
Here.
Nat Lowell,
Here.
Christina Jellamy,
Here.
Liza Hatton. I don't see Liza. Joseph Topham,
Here.
Hillary Rayport,
Here.
John Kitchener. Don't see him. Bert Johnson,
Here.
Brooke Moore,
Here.
Mike Mizzarelli,
Here.
and the chair is here. Okay, I will take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion by Bert and second by Dave.
Yeah.
All right. Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Christina,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Hillary,
Aye.
Bert,
Aye.
Brooke,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye.
It looks
And-
like John is here now.
Okay. John, just wanted to confirm you're here for the attendance.
Here.
Okay, great. All right. Just wanted to say quickly, I think you guys saw on the agenda, there's no public comment. We have a really robust agenda and things to discuss. So this meeting's going to be commissioner discussion only. So just wanted to note that. And with that, I'm going to kick the discussion over to Leslie to talk about the enabling legislation and the updates and summarize them. Thank you.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. I know a couple of you asked about having the facilitator present for the discussion this afternoon. And as I think you can see, she's not here this afternoon. We had talked with her about doing a single facilitated discussion, which you all participated in on January 6th. And she did provide some materials that I think you all had, the spreadsheet and some other things that were discussed. So you have the materials that are in your packet for today, and you all have some decisions to make. I'm going to run through the changes that we're suggesting to the Planning Commission's version of the Home Rule petition. This is outside of any potential compromise language. These are simply changes that we're suggesting after additional review and additional discussion with Town Council. So the first one is language that we lifted from the land bank legislation that says commission members shall be legal residents of Nantucket County and shall serve without compensation. The second change says, this also came from the land bank legislation, decisions of the commission shall be by a majority of those present and voting. That just clarifies how that works. Section 3, which is paying expenses. We had originally proposed what staff considered to be modernization changes to more clearly reflect the process that is followed now. Town Council suggested that we retain the language that's in the legislation. I don't have any concerns about that, so I would recommend that you keep Section 3 as written. And Section 6, the DREIP, we had some discussion about removing that. I had originally suggested that it be removed. After additional consideration and after talking with Town Council, the recommendation is to keep Section 6. It's already in the legislation. It does give you some, authority to utilize if you choose to, and if you follow the steps that are outlined. And I think it would be best for you to retain that language. That's it.
Great. I'll take a motion to accept the changes as proposed, or if you, yeah.
yeah. Christina, sorry, Abby, I see Christina.
Yeah, as the chair, please use the hand raise function because sometimes I can't see everybody. It's under React. If you raise your hand, just so I'll be able to see when people are raising their hands.
Trying to find it. Can I speak?
Yeah.
Two things. The new recommendations pulled out of the land bank documentation. I don't really understand the relevance of it and the purpose of it. So I would recommend to strike it. And then the other thing that I found in the section 1 in the last paragraph, it lists all, the county commissioners, Nantucket Chamber of Commerce, and it's missing the land bank. So that was just one piece of documentation that I found in there. I'm done.
Hillary?
Can I? Oh, sorry.
Oh,
Now
I'll let Leslie, if you want to respond to that first, just about the and the language from the land bank enabling legislation and why you recommended we include it here.
I can certainly respond to that, but my question for Christina real quick is, I see one member of the Nantucket Islands Land Bank, which is being highlighted on the screen. Is it missing somewhere else?
Yes, down to the next page, you start to list when the planning, July following the approval, the appointments from the planning board, Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust, county commissioners, conservation, land bank isn't in there. So at the end of July, at the beginning of July, the land bank will need to appoint the land bank person, and it's just missing.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Mhm.
Extra eyes are always a good thing. And then the reason why we added the language from the land bank legislation, I mean, I thought it was something good for you to consider, that members of your commission are residents of Nantucket County, so that local people are representing local interests. I did check with the town clerk to see exactly what constitutes a resident. And she said that you have to respond to the local census and be on the street list. That's option 1. And then you can also register to vote in Nantucket or a combination thereof. And that's a statutory requirement, one or both of those things. So just in case anyone wonders what a resident is, that's what constitutes a resident. And then the other insertion, decisions of the commission shall be by a majority of those present and voting. That to me just seemed like something that should be included so that it's clear how decisions are made and how voting is handled. So that's the explanation.
Hillary, you can speak.
Thank you very much. I'm a little confused about what we're doing right now, Madam Chair. So Leslie just briefed us on 2 new additions and 2 reinstatements. Are you saying that you'd like the commission to vote on those 2 things in isolation? Because I have some comments on those things, but I just wanted to clarify exactly what you're trying to do right now. Hello?
Yeah, I didn't know. Leslie, I don't know if you want to respond with what you recommend the motion is.
Well, I think you could vote on the changes that we are suggesting individually or vote on them as a group. That's really the prerogative, I guess, of the chair or whoever makes the motion.
Okay. So you mean the entire document that you put up, which has a structure that the petitioners disagree with, and that we thought we were here to talk about some compromise consensus discussion, and it seems like you're asking us to vote on what the NP&EDC had put ahead. Is that what you're asking us to vote on? You don't want to talk about the potential compromise or consensus?
If I could just jump in real quick. We had these suggested changes for discussion at your December meeting, and the meeting adjourned before you had a chance to discuss those. So I think the chair and I thought that maybe these should be discussed first before going into any compromise language.
Okay. All right. So I'll comment just on those two issues. So on the language about being a resident, and thank you for the clarification that resident means returning the census and being a registered voter. I just think it flies in the face of a lot of the way we've been talking about this legislation, which is to be inclusive. Most of this, all of this is either elected or appointed. So there's somebody that has the ability to control, who is on it. But if we have, like there's a resident of Monomoy who is a community planner of Singapore. Like Singapore is famous for being the most incredible, having the most incredible visionary planning department. Like, would we want to exclude that person if that person wanted to volunteer for this quite large commission? I don't think it's a good idea, and I don't think it's consistent with what we've talked about in the past. The language about the quorum, so this is a real sneaky one. It's a very sneaky move because if you read the state 40B legislation, which we have to follow, that 40B Regional Planning Act, that applies to us. It's statutory. Many of these planning commissions, the other 12 of them, some of them are enormous. Like the MAPC, it has over 150 representatives. So they actually have language which says that you don't have to have a quorum to make decisions. So I see this as, intentionally or not, being a Trojan horse to make decisions without a true quorum being present, because it says that decisions can be made by who is present. And I don't think it's necessary. It potentially causes a lot of confusion, and it's potentially, a maneuver relative to the state legislation. I absolutely don't support it. So I'm a no on both of those changes. They're both really bad ideas.
Mike?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On the residency requirement, I don't see that as irrational at all. I think this commission wants people that have a stake and an interest in our residents, and that does not seem to be an over-the-top requirement to be answer the census and be a registered voter. So I would be leaning to support that.
Thank you. John?
Well, I just want to use the example of Monomoy residents, because here is a man who has dedicated most of his life to extremely successful urban planning. He is as invested in this island as any of us. We could not afford to hire someone like him, even if they were available. We could not afford it. And here's a guy who most likely would give up his time to do this. So to exclude him and others like him, I don't think that's very smart. I don't think it's very smart. And it certainly isn't inclusive. So thank you.
Okay.
Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I kind of disagree. I think if the guy from Singapore wants to help out, then it can be someone of the public and sit there and join our meetings and weigh in. But I think you need to be part of the community. I think that it's great you have a house here. I'm glad you came to Nantucket. I'm glad you love Nantucket. This is all great, but I think that this board is trying to encapsulate the people that are here year round, the people that is going forward. And I think that that's most important. I think if we're going to have like one person that is across the country or across the world, then that's great that he's got this value and this importance. But I don't think that he can just call in. I mean, I've never thought of like, oh, I'm going to go, my friend lives in Sacramento, I'm going to join the board or the planning board of the, Ketchum in Idaho. That's just kind of ridiculous. We have to have people that are here locally. You have to have people that are here most of these season and voting, and that's most important. And I don't think if you meet those requirements, I'm sorry, but if you want to help us out, Zoom, jump on in there, come on in, Andoise, I think you come from Monaco and you call in and this is all great. We love this, but that to not be living on Nantucket year round, not to be a registered voter, that's a problem to me. I think that this is really a slippery slope that can start to something. So basically anyone could come from any one of the house owners on Nantucket and be able to be on this board or any other board. So like, what is the point of controlling your town if you don't live here? That just makes no sense to me. This is a really kind of a silly argument. So I think that you should meet all of the town requirements to be able to be on any of the boards. Thank you.
Okay. Dave, and I'm gonna go to Dave and then Nat and then Leslie, and then I'll go back to you, John, but I want to give everybody at least a chance to speak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Joe said it really well. I think there's a few things we need to keep in mind, right? I think that, after 5 years of the STR debate and the temperament of town meeting for people that aren't residents making choices for us, I think we have to remember this has to make it through town meeting as well as the state. And those are two big steps. I certainly don't want to be standing at town meeting defending the reason why we're letting non-resident people serve on a regional planning board for this island. I think that it will be very difficult. Someone's going to stand up and challenge it, and I think it's going to be really a bad look for us to try to defend it, especially, all you need is Brian Borgenson to stand up and say, "Hey guys, remember where we were? And here we are again." And I think that it goes down in flames. So I support this at some level. I just think it's very important that if we're going to have a regional planning authority, well, we're going to have one that it represents that the stakeholders are the actual stakeholders that live on the island. Thank you.
Thank you, Nat.
Yes, Dave took my opening line about the STR debate being caused by an off-island person. So I'm going to move on from that one and go to the area plans. The individual area plans is the perfect avenue for people, seasonal residents, property owners, anyone interested in the process. And that way they have a say, they have input in their communities. But in this community, excuse me, my phone's blowing up from work. So that, and also, and this is something that I've said before, the assumption, the public doesn't even think about something like this. Like, I'm not talking about small committees and the area plan work groups and other work groups that are formed throughout, whether it's a select board committee, doesn't matter. That's the voice of the seasonal resident. But there's an assumption that the public thinks you sort of have to be a resident to be on the Concom or on the Airport Commission or on the Planning Commission or on the Finance Committee. I mean, they're not thinking about, oh, we've got this one commission that you don't have to be a resident. Like, I think that we've opened up a strange conversation that has never been really had that way, but it's an assumption that most people would think that you're a resident. That's it, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Bert? You're still muted, sorry.
I agree with Nat, Joe, and Dave. We need to have, and as everyone has said, they can join in the discussion if they so inclined.
Okay, great. Leslie, you had your hand, but are you all set? Okay. John?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, I think some of the adjectives that have been used are probably out of place in a meeting like this. But second of all, more importantly, if someone has spent probably 2+ months a year for the last 30 years on this island, I don't see how, as Joe put it, and not a member of the community, I think he said. He isn't, that kind of person is a member of the community. And let's not forget, that this doesn't get them onto the commission. It gives them the right to run for an elected position, which the voters are going to say yes or no to, or the appointing authority of the various boards are going to say yes or no to. So I don't know why we're frightened or whatever it is to let non-residents that you are part of our community. I don't understand why we don't allow them the chance to run or to present themselves to an appointing committee. I don't understand why we would not allow that. Thank you.
Okay, Hillary, and then Joe.
I just want to add that for the elected positions, you need to be a voter. So you can't run for election unless you're already a voter. And for the appointed positions, you have to be judged to be qualified. I mean, I just feel like this is going in a direction of dividing the community, deciding who's a community member and not. We have people who, like I myself right now, I have I have a medical situation in my family and I can't live on Nantucket all the time right now. That won't always be the case. But yeah, I think this is going in this direction for reasons that are not, it's coming in at the 11th hour. It's going in this direction for reasons that aren't consistent with a lot of the thesis of this whole process. And it overlooks the fact that, everyone who runs for election is going to be a voter. Everyone who puts up for appointment is going to need to be selected. So you're basically kind of micromanaging the appointing body by saying who they can and can't choose for. This isn't the land bank where they're spending huge, where we've got an enterprise or a revenue fund. So I don't know. I mean, I think at the very least, if we go forward with this, I would suggest an amendment. I'm not even sure that I'm going to end up voting yes on this legislation altogether, but I would suggest an amendment, which is that it has to be as determined by the town clerk, because that was something that, Leslie said, the criteria are: one, you're a voter, or two, if you're not a registered voter, you're on the street list of the census. So, let's not create a lot of confusion, and let's just say that.
Okay, Joe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Listen, if I find in someone, I don't really care right now, honestly. I think this is a point of a really sticking point of Nantucket. If you, as John, to use your words, as a non-resident of Nantucket, it's Dave's right. We're going to get a town meeting floor and we're going to get absolutely gutted. People are going to be like, what are you thinking? What is going on with you? Like, this is not right. To go back to the elected part, is this person going to have more money than some local person? Is this going to have it's going to have detrimental, like, ramifications that are just going to be like echoing throughout the town. This is really kind of a bad slippery slope that people are trying to create. And it's just going to open up Pandora's box where we're going to get on a town floor and like anyone's going to run, anyone's going to come. I got a house. I can be on any board I want to be on. And I think that's really, a sad part of Nantucket that we're trying to push this on. If you don't live in Nantucket, then that's sad. And Hillary, I understand you have a medical condition that you deal with. And I get that. And I know you'd rather be here with your family. I think that's really important. But also, you work really hard to come here. I think you're the exception to the rule. I think someone in Singapore really, as much as the experience the guy has, I'm not knocking his credentials or anything, but he can join us via Zoom and join in, weigh in, follow the meetings, be part of the process. We've never said no to anyone. We've never opened up the door, or said we don't want to have a conversation. Nat, I'm sure, would sit down with anyone, right, all day long and have a conversation about it. So, and I would do the same. I'm joking about Nat, but this is something that's really important to me. I am a native of Nantucket. If I moved to Nantucket and I was living here, and let's say I was 30 years old and I was 2 years in the island and I wanted to be active in this community, I think I would look for an advisory board that I would say, this is the perfect avenue. I can come in there. I know what's going on. I'm hearing about the rentals. I'm talking to the younger community. And this is what I think we really need to be doing. And we need to be focused on someone that is here year round. That is someone that's bumping into the people in the aisles of the Stop and Shop and dealing with the cold winters of walking across land bank land or wherever land you got or riding a bike, whatever it is. But I think that you need to be here. That is a really critical piece to this whole entire part of this. I don't even know why we're having this debate. It's kind of amazing that someone is even questioning that this is not something that we should have in there. And the land bank does deal with a lot of money, but then again, as you said, Hillary, this is something. This is a really important board that has a lot of uh, issues that we deal with. It also deals with the contracts of Leslie and the commissioners and the Plus department, and this is really important. So I don't think anyone could just join the board. I think that you have to come have credentials, and I'd hate to see some young youth kid coming to Nantucket or a year-round kid that can't uh, keep up with someone that has a group of friends that would buy his way in or something or pay for his his process to be if he was going to be elected or something. That just doesn't work for me. And to have the person coming to Singapore, like what time of day it is right now in Singapore? Like, good Lord, it's probably nighttime. The guy's asleep. He's not going to want to be on this board and show up like once a month and be on here. Like that's it makes no sense. I can't believe we're there having this discussion. Thank you, Madam.
Okay, Christina, then Mike.
I just wanted to bring up that I know that we're here to discuss a lot of other things and make a compromise legislation. If we have 32 more minutes, and so we're discussing one new piece of wording to the document that has just been recently suggested. So I make a motion that we move to a vote on whether to accept or reject the new language.
Okay. All right.
I'll
So
second that
motion by Chris,
motion.
second by Dave to accept the changes as presented by Leslie. Dave,
Aye.
Nat,
Aye. Sorry.
Christina,
No.
Joe,
Aye.
Hillary.
Point of order, are we just voting on the language about the resident of Nantucket?
We're voting on all the changes as presented. We're not doing them one by one.
Okay, well, I mentioned that the other one creates a lot of confusion and potentially allows decisions to be made not by
Yep.
a quorum, and we didn't even vote
Yeah.
on that. So I would suggest that I'd like to confirm that all of the commissioners understand what we're voting on, and if they want to discuss any, the concern that I raised before we actually ram through a vote on stuff that we haven't even discussed and don't understand the implications of. I mean, that language about the quorum, it's
There's a
really
motion.
serious.
Point of
The motion on
order.
the floor, we have to vote on it, so you can vote yes or no. I'm sorry. Point of order, like you just have to vote. You can vote no, as Christina did, if you don't agree, or you
No.
can. Okay.
With
All right.
prejudice.
John,
No.
Bert, Bert.
He's muted.
Okay. Bert, if you can unmute, we just want to know if you want to move forward with the language or not. Okay. I'll move on. Brooke,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
the chair votes aye. So, moving on, I guess we can talk about if we want to discuss the proposal as presented that was in the packet as presented by the petitioners. Okay, Dave.
Yeah, as you know, I continue to be frustrated by this process. I would like to make a motion to but before I even say that, part of my frustration is that we spent 2 hours in the last meeting airing out everything that we had concerns about with the proposed citizen article. We left the meeting. A few days later, the proponent comes back with, I can't even call it a compromise article because I feel that our voices weren't even heard or addressed at all. So what I'm suggesting is that we move ahead and we vote on our legislation. And if at some point between now and town meeting, someone's able to pound out something that's acceptable to both sides, then we'll deal with it when we get there. But until then, I really think that we shouldn't be delayed anymore. We should vote to put our legislation on the warrant and move on. So I would like to make that motion.
Okay, so the motion on the floor is to vote on the enabling legislation. Is there a second?
Second,
Okay, second. All right, motion by Dave, second by Bert. Okay, and this is a motion to move forward with the enabling legislation. So Dave?
Could we have
Hold
some
on.
discussion on the
Point of
motion?
order.
Oh,
Point of order, Madam Chair. Just to be extra clear, the motion is to advance what was just voted on with the changes as presented by Leslie, the changes that the commission prior, voted to advance to be put on the warrant, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And I'll just add Liza has joined. So
Could we
sorry,
have
I
some
was remiss.
discussion
We're
on
going
the
to have
motion?
can you please stop interrupting? Only speak if I call on you, and if I'm not calling on you,
Well,
please
point
do
of
not
order, I'd
speak.
like to have some discussion on the motion before we vote.
Okay, as I was just saying, we are going to have discussion on the motion before we vote. So, Joe, you had your hand up, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First off, I just thank Julie Fitzgerald for doing a really good job and stepping up and helping us out. I thought our discussions was very helpful. I think that if the public watched it, I think it was very helpful in how we discussed every seat and candidate and how we went through everything. I do agree with Dave. I do think the latest petitioners group has moved so far away from what was, as Matt said, a very narrow gap. And I think it's really kind of sad with the two camps now all of a sudden have gone like so extreme. And I think that's really sad. I think it's just disappointing that we can't, come back to something. And I think that the biggest trigger point was the elected portion of it, where we didn't want any. There was two, and they came back with two again. And so I just feel like we haven't gone anywhere. And part of the other thing that was brought up is that Massachusetts wants people to be more appointed. And I think that's really important. And it's not who whatever, but it's like how you worked within the community, whether you've been on a nonprofit or how you communicated with a town or worked on a project, or someone says that this is a really bright person, and I think that they would be great on this board, or you should step up. And I think, you get tapped. And that's what you kind of want to do. You want to be on some of these boards and help your community. Dave said it right. It's a bunch of old white people, and it's so true. But then Charity, doubled down on it and said white people are better and older people are better, and I think that just really brings a really sad perspective, because I think, and this is what I've been saying to a lot of people I've been running into that either come with a planning board or starting a business or coming and the master plan, where we were talking about, there was, two people of diversity in the master plan in the high school. And so one of the things that they asked was like, where would you go to get more input? And I said, go to the school. And they did. And they said that was really valuable, because that is what Nantucket's going to be. And the next, 10 to 15 years, you're going to have school members or parents of that are start to be in the community long enough that they want to help out some way, shape or form. And I think that they're going to be definitely more afraid of government because of where they came from, whether it's El Salvador or wherever, or Venezuela, to use that as today's topic. I think they don't trust governments. And so that's something where we're like, here, come on this small advisory board and really help us out and really kind of bring your perspective. And I believe the new structure of this board is going to be really important, the way we've set it up. It's going to bring, we can reach out to some of the younger islanders who are wide-eyed. They may have a conversation that brings us down a dead end, but at the same time, that conversation would say, well, it's not a stupid question because, well, what about this? And it brings robust, different discussions. And I like being on the Concom or the planning board where I have someone has a different perspective. I think that's really important. So, I mean, it just quickly, like looking across, like we have Sante Boyce, who's the chair of the school committee, and then of course there's Esmeralda, who's the vice chair of the school committee, and then there's Chris Rivera, who's his own gym, and uh, uh, Penze Duat. Sorry, I'm saying her first name incorrectly, but public nurse, fitness instructor, big in the Catholic Church, youth volunteer. My nephew, Lieutenant Shane Perry, the Nantucket Fire Department, Dylan Perry, first grade teacher, both of Cape Verdean descent. Samuel Tejada, who's a good friend of mine, who's from El Salvador and it became an American citizen, owns his own business. We've talked to the Brazilian jiu-jitsu people, and we were asking Andre and to step forward and or help us out in different things. There's also João Quintino from Lisbon, Portugal, I believe, if I got it correct, but he's got his own business. Mendel Harris, who works, Jamaican, who 20s odd years ago moved to Nantucket, works for Toscana. He's a great guy and he's a smart guy and he sees what's going on in the world and he's talking to some of his co-workers and so they know what's going on. And then there's also Dr. Pavi. She's a Brazilian who owns her own dental business. And I think that we can even go further and say, like, hey, let's go to I'm going to use me as a Catholic, Reverend Villa, and say, hey, who do you know of your parishioners that we can bring forward? I think if we go forward with what the elected officials and as we were talking about the cost, I think we're going to be in the same predicament. In 5 years, the town in Nantucket is going to say, you did nothing to change this. And I think that we need to look towards the youth and say, hey, you need to help us because, like I said, in 10 years, they're going to be our next select board members. They're going to be our next planning board members. They're going to be our next ZBA members or land bank. Like these are the people we need to reach out to. I think this is really important that we kind of look back or look broadly to someone on Nantucket, not one in Singapore. Great guy, have no problem with him, but we need to be looking who is living on the island now. That is what is most important, and this is what we need to do. And Matt saying that people on the planning board have never want to do a long range planning. I can tell right now, anytime I go to have a dinner with Dave or sit down with Nat or anyone like that, we're always talking about like, well, this is what we're talking about now, but hey, well, down the year or back was this. And so I just feel like some of the information that was provided last time was really wrong and missed the mark on a lot of this. And I think that the names I just mentioned, I think there were more people. I'm sure I'm going to miss it. I'm sure, John Charles is sitting there like, well, I know a bunch of people, and he's another smart young man that is young and grew up in Nantucket, and I'm sure would love to help. And I know there's a line he can't cross as being a journalist, but I think that this is his group of friends that he surely knows someone that would want to come help us. And I think that, like I said, the petitioners came back with something that is so far away from what we need, where we were, and listening to both meetings and then seeing what they came back with, I was like, did I miss a meeting? I really felt like something was amiss. And I don't think Dave just brought up, like, we didn't miss anything. It's the petitioners are doing this for some intentional reason. We're down the last couple minutes of this article, and we decided to like throw I don't know where it was. Basically, we're not even on the same turf, not in the same page. I mean, it's just really kind of sad because we spent a lot of time hardworking, really trying to get this to work, working together, brought in a facilitator, like all we're trying our best to narrow this gap. And this is just something that is not even coming close to reaching the mark. And it's kind of sad. I don't know why one petitioner or all of them did say we're so far away from what is in front of us, because when I started this process back when Barry was the chair, I took the petitioners layout and I tried to see like how can I get close to that, and this is where I came up. And there are some things on here I don't agree with, but that's my board is a majority voted, and so I'm behind them and I will stand behind them and say I voted against that, but I think this is the right thing to do for the community. And I did the same when I was on the Concom, and that's something that we all need to realize is like this is the right thing for Nantucket, and we need to be looking at the youth to how to move it forward. As Charity said, we got the periscope up and we don't know what's coming. Well, that's kind of sad. At her age, as an old white person, she said that she would like needs more that she has better vision than someone else. Well, she just admitted she didn't in the last meeting. And I thought, like, well, if you don't have any idea what's going on, then maybe we should look to the young, because the youth, and maybe we should go to back to this talent pool that is widely based on it, and go back to like how the school is structured now. There's so many flags in that school hall. It's kind of impressive. I mean, from the days of Nat and I going down the hallways, I mean, it's just incredible how Nantucket has become so diverse and so, embracing and diversity. I think that this is
Point
what
of
we need to
order.
embrace.
We really have
So
limited time. Joe, I'm sorry,
Um,
point of order, but could we maybe hear from some other people too?
I didn't get to speak, so I missed 2 meetings. So this is my time. Thank you. But
yeah, I do think it's fair that Joe does get to speak since he was not at the meeting on the 6th. But Joe, if you're done, John.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I had a bit of a technical problem and I missed what David had to say. So I just wanted to ask, at some point, I would like the opportunity before we adjourn to at least put forward a motion to a modification of the latest thing we have from Hillary. So I just need to, if I can, have a few minutes at some point to put forward a modified motion.
We can discuss that after the motion on the
Okay.
floor is cleared.
I just wasn't sure what Dave
Yeah.
said. That's all.
No, that's fair. Hillary.
Well, there's a lot that just came out on the table, and it's a little hard to decide what to respond to. But I do want to clarify that, when the petitioners got together, we came up with something that we felt would address the concern of wanting to have more planning board members on the commission that was coming from you guys. We also agreed to have the social services sector on. And, we can reduce, we asked for 2 elected members and directly elected members and the 4 at large, but, we can have a discussion and we can reduce that. I don't think we'd be willing to go for none. But the spirit, there's been a lot of impressions and no one has discussed, but the spirit of coming back here was to have a collaborative consensus based discussion to bring the community get together. And the whole tenor of this discussion, from the decision to blatantly disregard the request to have a facilitator, it wasn't a request, it was a vote to have a facilitated process. Julie was available to be invited and willing to serve, and she was not invited. And I think from the way this meeting is going, that says something about how what the chair and the staff and the decision makers wanted to have happen. So we came here to build consensus, to come together. We are totally happy to hear what you don't like about what you asked us to counter again. We've, by the way, moved again and again and again. You asked us to counter again. So we came up with something that we thought was maybe unexpected, maybe creative, but it was not intended to be pull us further apart. And we came here with some concessions that we could make, and we have been nothing but attacked. And I am now really regretting that I didn't go through with one thing that I discussed in the past based on, Joe's long speech. You guys considered a minority community representative, and everyone who's on this page right now voted against it, including Joe. I pointed out other commissions, other planning agencies have minority community representatives. So if that was so important to you, and that's why you think that, what you're putting forward is better, I would first of all look and say, you've controlled appointments for 15 years. Look at this commission, look in the mirror. And secondly, there's a way to fix that, and this is not it. But the bigger point is that this is not a consensus building discussion. This is, let's vilify these people. Let's, insult them, even bring, suggest that they only want white people. Like, nobody ever said that. That's not what this is.
Okay,
Where did
point
that
of
come
order,
from?
Hillary. I don't think
And
personal attacks
this
on
is
any side
not a
is fair.
consensus building
I don't
discussion.
think we should
And
be
the
having
reason
personal
why you
attacks.
haven't spoken is because you've only ever had one meeting where you let the petitioner speak. In this meeting, you're not even letting the public speak. So that's why people haven't gotten to speak. I think it's clear you don't want consensus. You just want what you want. You don't want to actually hear from anybody, which is
Oh,
what people have problem.
okay. Mike?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to push back a little bit on Hillary, you're bringing forth a citizens petition article. It's been to town meeting twice and not been acted on by the legislature. I don't know why. And it's really not, in my opinion, and I'm only speaking for myself, it's not the job of this commission to advance a citizens petitions article. We did have a discussion. We did have a facilitator for that meeting, and we have not reached consensus. I think it's time to move forward. I don't think it's great to go to town meeting with two articles, but that's where we are. Thank you.
Okay. Joe?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I believe Barry Rector had, oversaw two meetings with the petitioners, right? And then at a private meeting with Megan. I think you were in attendance to that one. We've had several meetings to say like we haven't listened to you and this hasn't happened. This is the last meeting before the door shuts for the town meeting. So, Dave, to steer your line, my head's about to explode. It's just frustrating that the petitioner keeps trying to make up information that is inaccurate. We've had multiple informations. Madam Chair, how many emails have you, I'm sure, corresponded with this petitioners? I'm sure there's more than a handful. And I think the communication that anytime I've had with you has been open and the dialogue has been, even when we don't agree, has been professional. So I just feel like the information that's being pushed out here is just inaccurate. And it's just sad that we're in this part of Nantucket history that this is being something. Because as I bring back to where I started, I thought we were so close. And Matt Fee was correct. We're so close, go back to the table. And then we come back with something that's is just different. It's so far different. It was just sad. So thank you.
Okay. Christina and then Hillary, and then we're going to move forward with the vote.
I just want to say I think it's really unfortunate that we don't have a facilitator as we had voted for on here, because right now there's no discussion of coming to a consensus. There's just everybody putting their heels in. I agree that I thought that we were really close, and I feel that if we could go through that list as we had in our last meeting, we could vote one by one and get somewhere. Without a facilitator, that's not happening here. So I think that I'm just really disappointed because I see two articles going to town meeting, and it absolutely makes my head blow up. So it's really unfortunate that we did not have the facilitator as we had voted, because the last meeting was very productive and this is not.
Okay. Hillary.
Thank you, Abby. Yeah, I think you guys have never ever countered with anything different, and that's been a problem. I'm actually wishing that when you asked us to make yet another proposal to try to come together, that we had just said it's your turn. It's your turn to try to come together. We identified lots of areas in common, and now we're being vilified and ripped apart without a facilitator. And also we have all sorts of people here who have been told they can't speak. So this has always been about control, about your keeping your people in control, and about
Okay,
making
Hillary,
sure
if this
that
is
this
going
is
to be
not a
personal
compromise.
attacks, we're not, that's a point of order.
It's
This is
not a
not about
personal
attacking
attack.
people.
It is a
Well,
statement
talking
of my
about
opinion,
control
what
and
I'm
saying people
seeing.
are vilified, I feel like that's inappropriate.
Hillary,
And that's
time
not,
out.
it's not part of the discussion. Dave?
I think we need to move to a vote here. I mean, and I'm not going to deny, Christina, we all thought it was productive last meeting, but then the petitioners come back not addressing one of our concerns with a proposal that was that widened the gap, not shortened it. I think Hillary accuses this board of wanting to be in control. We never said we wanted 4 planning board members, but all of a sudden you think we want 4 planning board members. That's not what we asked for. You know, we've been pretty consistent that we want to broaden the membership of this board. And I think that to point the finger and say we want to stay in control is I no, I think our only agenda is to broaden the membership of this board. While I think there may be a different agenda afoot, but I'm not going there. So I think it's important we vote on this. It just because we vote on this doesn't preclude us to come to some agreement between now and town meeting, for one. For two, to say that we should come up with a counter offer is just not really, that's not thought through that well, right? Because we would all have to have a public meeting. We would have to debate it in public meeting. The board would have to vote on it. We don't have all this time to schedule all these meetings. We have to, the warrant's going to close. We have to have public meetings on whatever we decide, public hearings. The time is now. This have more meetings and then have someone come back with an offer that's miles away from where we want to be isn't helpful or productive. We as a board need to get our legislation on the warrant. And then if there's room and time for a discussion between now and town meeting to come to an agreement, I'm not opposed to that. But I think now is the time to put it to rest at this board and and get our legislation on the warrant. You've had the petitioners have had 2 opportunities to have theirs on the warrant already. I feel like we're playing a delay game so that we run out of time. And I'm tired of it. I think we need to vote on it, move on, maybe take a deep breath, and maybe come back before town meeting and try to pound it out one more time with the petitioners. I sincerely, I don't have a lot of faith in that process. Thank you.
Okay, Liza, please keep it short so we can vote.
Yes, I just wanted to contribute that I feel like after watching the last meeting, it was very clear to me that it seemed like the majority of people on the commission supported not having elected seats. So when I was thinking that there would be a compromise, I thought that that would be the place where maybe the petitioners could give a little bit to meet in the middle, because I think that we were willing to be accommodating on many other fronts. So I feel like for me, that is where there was not any kind of compromise.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so moving forward on the vote. Dave, on the motion that you put forth and Bert seconded of moving forward with the draft of enabling legislation that we just voted on with those changes, how do you vote?
Aye.
Nat,
Aye.
Christina,
No.
Liza,
Aye.
Joe,
Aye.
Hillary,
No.
John.
No, Madam Chair, but I would like
Okay,
to make an amendment if we can before we leave today.
we can talk about that after. Bert,
Aye.
Brooke,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye, so that motion passes. I'm not sure what John is thinking, but John, I guess I want to let you talk and then staff can discuss the options.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so to keep this simple and with all the discussion, my maths may be a little bit off, but I'd just like to focus on the first 2 lines, the planning board members and the at-large members. So, you know, our commission has recommended 3, the petitioners 4. I think if that went back to 3, and then the at-large members, the commission was looking for 3. If we took that back to, the commissioners wanted 4. So if we took that to 3, one of which is elected, and left everything else pretty well the way it was, that seems to me like it gives everybody a little bit of what they want, because the rest of this doesn't seem to me like it's showstoppers. So it's just, I guess, in the end, just putting that one elected position in the at-large members, and then that's 1 out of 13. Isn't that something we could agree to, with the prize of moving from 2 articles to 1?
You're leaving out a couple things, John.
Let's have it then. And that I've been trying to do my notes.
The new thing of the county commissioner member not having a vote. I'm not really sure where that came from.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt.
That is, I'm not sure. I thought that was a typo when I read that. And then,
if I could respond,
and
Matt,
then the term limits. I mean, as you know, that's just, we voted as a town at town meeting against term limits, and nobody in the state has agreed to that with their own seats and their own positions either. That is a very contentious issue, especially for out here. We're trying to get new people involved in these at-large seats as a sort of an entry-level type position in a lot of cases, and that's how it's worked out.
I agree, Nat, and I'm sorry. I would. You're right. So strike that. Strike the non-voting county commissioner, and then just the 2 changes I mentioned. I would love to see a vote on that if we could, because it's so close. Madam Chair? Or maybe the commissioners should say whether they
I guess I just want to check with staff of how does that work.
Perhaps the commissioners could vote on whether we should vote on it.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
I believe we would have to have a motion to reconsider, because I think the motion that just passed was definitive.
Agree. So.
And that has to come from someone who voted
no
on the prevailing side of the vote.
Okay. Joe, you have your hand up. Are you making that motion, or are you just commenting?
No. Sorry. I was just going to say that to what John just said. I thought that's what the petitioners were going to come back with, but I apologize. Sorry.
I think you should vote on it if that's what you'd like to
there
discuss,
needs to
and
be,
we'll consider it.
That's not how it works, Hillary. As Brooke pointed out, there needs to be someone who votes to reconsider, who voted to move forward what we just voted on.
I really hope one of my colleagues could give this an opportunity for a few minutes.
Dave?
Madam Chair, if I might?
Yes.
I'm just going to say that I feel very strongly that at the last meeting, the commissioners were very honest and forthright about areas of concern and areas of willing to compromise. And the petitioner group did not give any feedback during that meeting. It was not a dialogue. It was a one-way conversation. And I believe they were asked to take that feedback and incorporate what they understood from that meeting into a compromise. And when the proposal came through, it clearly didn't do that. So I kind of feel like we just keep running around the mulberry bush here, which is why I voted for the original motion and would not support a motion to reconsider.
One more trip around the mulberry bush.
Dave, you have your hand up.
Yeah, listen, I'm not completely against a motion to reconsider. I think that we need to be really be very specific here instead of, well, that from here, that from there. Someone needs to be very specific about what that new motion is going to be. And I think that with that motion, there has to be an agreement that if it passes, that the petitioner would would claw back their article from town meeting, because why are we doing this if we're just going to still have two articles at town meeting and have a fight over that because someone could call that article. So I'm not sure what that tying ourselves in a knot is going to be productive or favor our proposal.
Okay.
I think that's fair, David.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, not hearing a motion to reconsider, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I thought Dave said he would.
Well, no one's given the definitives.
No, no one's
Lori
made.
has her hand up, and if she's willing to agree to pull her article, if we pass something that I don't want to tie ourselves in a knot, us put forward something that hopefully everyone will agree with, and then have Hillary say, well, I'm not sure I agree. You know what? I'm not going to pull my article. And then we are stuck with an article that we didn't even really want. That's the danger here, John, is
Yeah.
that we revote this and everyone revotes and moves to the middle, and then all of a sudden, either the proponent or one of the petitioners decides at town meeting that they're going to call and fight this out, and then we're stuck fighting for an article that we really didn't support. We're just doing it in an effort to meet in the middle, and I'm not sure that there's really a good track record of honesty here.
David, I 100% agree that the petitioner should make that, that agreement before we vote, because without it, it doesn't really mean anything. So I agree with that.
Hillary.
I take umbrage at the suggestion that there hasn't been honesty. I think we've tried to be absolutely transparent, and that's why we keep putting things on the warrant and participating in town meeting, because it's the open, transparent process with public hearings. And so as far as the substance of the discussion, we have been waiting for you to counter with something, and we've put in writing why we're not supporting what you seem to want to put on the warrant and what you just voted. We put that in writing. So if you want us to consider, if you really believe that something else could work and that you'd like to come together and you think it would be the best thing for Nantucket, I don't know why you wouldn't make the motion. I mean, it's like you're saying, well, we think this would be the best thing for Nantucket, but only with conditions. So, you said, oh, well, we couldn't discuss and we couldn't come together and we couldn't make a proposal because it's impossible. But now someone is suggesting that you make a proposal. So I think you should go ahead and do it, please.
Okay,
Madam Chair?
And I did come here
Yeah,
with the
Mike
interest of negotiating.
Mike first. Mike.
Not hearing that the petitioner was going to pull back their article. I was just going to make the motion to adjourn. I think we've probably gone as far as we could today, but.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, second by Joe. All right, Dave.
Aye.
Nat.
Aye.
Christina.
No.
Liza.
Aye.
Joe.
Aye.
Hillary.
Abstain.
John.
No.
Bert.
Aye.
Brooke.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see some of you at planning board in a few minutes.